Yeah, so I'm at the beginning stages of building my practice because I've only been certified by EOS since last August or so. So I'm building up a client base. So a lot of my day in and day out now is just having conversations with people, trying to put value out, help people, talk to people with businesses, and I like that anyway. And if it turns into somebody who's interested in my services, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I just like making connections and helping people. So there's a big portion of that that's happening right now. And then if I'm not doing that, I'm in session. And in session means, you've done EOS, but 6, 7, 8 hours in a room together with a leadership team, and we're getting into it. We're really getting into it, fundamentally changing the way they do business, all in the name of helping them run a better business so they can lead a better life. And it's awesome. And all of my clients are across the country, so there's a good bit of travel in there, more travel than I've ever done in my entire life. So every session is usually a travel day on the front end and a travel day on the back end. So that's really the gist of it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we've done all of ours. So all the leadership, we're in. Everybody's in a different state, other than 2 of us. We're both in Florida.
Okay.
So we've been doing Zoom for those, and it's dreadful. I would so much rather be in person. Like just that ability to communicate in person is so much better.
Yeah, totally.
And
I won't. I won't do it virtually. I have one client that I'm doing it virtually, but I won't. Otherwise, I won't do it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, our implementer is kind of the same way. He's like, I don't like doing them virtually, but I will if I have to. And a team like ours, like, there's no way to, like, every quarter have everybody fly into one place and try to get it all. And it's like, well, where do we fly into, and how do we set it up? And there's no office, and there's it's a pain.
Yeah, sure.
What should a business be looking for? Like, let's say somebody wants to reach out to you and kind of say, hey, what can Harvey do for me in my business? What kind of business should be looking at EOS, and what kind of businesses specifically do you like to work with?
Well, the EOS target market is defined by companies that have between 10 and 250 employees and have between 2 and 50 million in revenue. It's at least 2 million in revenue. Privately held. So EOS is tough in huge corporations that are publicly traded for reasons that I'm sure you can understand. And then, so that's demographic. Psychographically, entrepreneurial in nature, which means that they are open and honest, they're growth oriented and growth minded, they're more afraid of the status quo than they are of change. So they're looking to change, they're looking to grow, they're not afraid of shaking things up for the sake of where they want to go long term. So target market wise, that's where we shoot for. Now, most of the businesses I work with, they're smaller than that, and it works. I run EOS in my business, and I'm one person. The tools they just work, but that is the target market. Who do I like working with? Man, I really like working with GoBundance dudes, and one of the reasons, as I'm sure you can identify with, there just seems to be an automatic base level value share in the way that we approach life, and the way that we approach team, and the way that we think about our priorities and our families. So that's really nice. And plus, we already have a shared camaraderie when we go into it. But you don't have to be in GoBundance. I prefer to work with people who kind of have that GoBundance mindset.
Yeah. Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. That's and I think that helps you with that. I mean, GoBundance guys, most of them are entrepreneurs to begin with, right? So that thought process is already there, that mindset's already there to grow and build.
Yeah.
So when you were doing the do you still do real estate as well as being an implementer?
As passively as I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, we were just talking about going to the GoBundance event in Vermont, and one of the ahas I took away from that was, I'm not good at putting together real estate deals, and I'm not good at operating them. And it just stresses me out, and it's a distraction from what I'm supposed to be doing in this world. And so it took me a while to just say it. I'm not going to do it anymore. I understand I want real estate, but I want it as passively as I possibly can to avoid all that other stuff.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Especially when you look at how EOS works and the things that, like, what's your core focus? And if you can apply that in your personal life on what is my core focus and what I'm doing, like,
yes,
and stop chasing all the all the yellow butterflies that come around, because man, oh man, it gets real difficult. Like last year we did a ton of work on the core focus. We shut down like 3 extra superfluous companies that we shouldn't have been trying to operate.
Awesome.
We really just narrowed down on exactly what we're supposed to be doing in the company. It made a massively huge difference in just our ability to focus, our ability to narrow in what we need to do, have the right people in the right seats. Because when you have one person in 4 different seats, because there's 4 different companies that you're running, that's nearly impossible to get the actual functionality out of that. And it was just exhausting.
Well, good for you. And your implementer sounds good too. Because that's hard. Coming up with the core focus by itself, writing the words down maybe isn't the most difficult thing. But the whole point of the core focus is to filter every single decision that you make in the business through it. And a lot of those decisions can be difficult. So congratulations for filtering through your core focus and making those tough decisions, because not everybody gets to that point.
Yeah, it was not easy, for sure. I mean, there was one company we spent over $100,000 trying to build it, and it was basically started, and we were like, it's time for it to go. And it was... What a kick in the shin, right? That really sucked. But what have you seen both in your implementer standing and since you've been an implementer in like some of the biggest changes and the biggest ahas that people running companies have?
I mean, it's all like one big aha. A big aha normally is just that light bulb moment. I had one recently where we were like, literally the guy's eyes got big and he said, I'm the problem, aren't I? Yep. You are the problem. That's okay. That's a good place to be, to realize that you are the problem. Now, what are we going to do about it? So that's a big one. And most of the time it's an owner who's sitting in the integrator seat and they're just suck. They just suck at it. There's conversations they're avoiding. There's people's feelings that they can sense, but they don't really want to touch it. And they're just throwing people where it makes sense for the day, and it's a mess, and they can't figure out why nothing's happening, why we're not moving forward, why no one's hitting their goals, why no one seems to be caring as much as I do. Well, dude, because you're not the person for the seat. So that's a big one. I think it is just the biggest ahas come from a level of clarity, and a lot of ahas come from doing the accountability chart exercise, where you start, it's really where you start to put things in their place, and you start to see, before an accountability chart, the body of work just looks like a rubber band ball, right? There's no real definition of who owns what or what communication lines go where, but it feels heavy and it feels huge, and it feels unravelable. No, wait, you can't unravel it. Like it's impossible to unravel. But then you go through this exercise and you have them zoom out, and you do structure first, people second. So instantly they're removing themselves, their egos, and the personnel that are involved in their business right now, which that's where the complexity comes from. You're thinking about personalities and names and skill sets and feelings and emotions and other people's egos. And if you can get to a mindset where you're removing that and you're just thinking about structure, it tends to simplify that process. And then you start to see where work and communication is actually compartmentalized and flows. And you're like, whoa, I'm in 4 seats and Johnny's in 6 seats. No wonder it feels like this. That and there's many exercises in that process where you get that level of clarity as to almost a peek under the hood of your own business. And the accountability chart, that's one of the places during implementation where they get that level of clarity.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the spots we did for sure. Like we did it, and I was like, okay, so I'm in 3 seats. We have 7 rocks, and I'm responsible for 6 of them.
Yeah,
I think we figured out part of the problem. I don't. It was just like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And it was a very good, refreshing slap in the face. And actually, my integrator, Ben Kelly is his name, and he's looking at jumping into GoBundance, and I've been trying for like the last year to get him into GoBundance. So
good. I just talked to him the other day. Yeah, we're both working on him then.
Yes, very
That's
good.
good.
I told him, I said, well, when you talk to the GoBundance guys, you better give them my daggum name. I've been talking to you for a year about that. Like,
Yeah.
but I like Ben a lot. He's been great to work with. So
Yeah. Good.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
it
glad
sounds
he
like
deals
it.
with the ridiculousness that we have in our company. So,
Yeah.
our personalities are, we
It's
got a bunch
everybody.
of military folks and military spouses that are
Yeah.
running the company. And it's like, oh
Yeah.
boy, good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's common. It's everybody.
He often asks what, like our last L10 that he sat in on, and he was like, none of you guys rated it a 10. I said, well, there was room for us to grow on these things. So like, there's no, and he's like, really? None of you guys can rate this a 10? I said, look, I don't know if you know military folks. Nothing is perfect. There's
Yeah.
always something we can, like, there's no way that
Yeah.
we could give ourselves 10s. Like, it's just not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
But no, it's been awesome to work with him, and I'd love to I want to keep chatting about EOS because I think it's going to be super valuable for anybody who's listening that doesn't use EOS at the moment, because I think it's phenomenal.